Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today is Tuesday, a beautiful day to be alive, but let me tell you, it is a wild, unhinged day to be a GH fan. Grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever strong beverage you need to cope right now, because we have so much to unpack from this latest episode. The drama is absolutely off the charts, and I am so ready to dive into it with all of you. I cannot believe they just did that. I am literally sitting here typing this up at 2 a.m. because I cannot sleep. My adrenaline is through the roof. My hands are actually shaking over my keyboard, and I just need to get this out of my system before my head explodes. What in the actual world did we just watch? I mean, I knew things were getting dark in Port Charles, but this was next level, prime time, premium cable television drama, and I am both entirely traumatized and absolutely here for it. Reacting first, explaining later, because my brain is just a puddle of emotions right now. The gunshot, the absolute coldness of it all. I am screaming. Okay, let me take a breath and back up. Let's set the scene because we have to talk about how incredibly tense this entire sequence was. Willow Kane is alone in her house. She is already a complete and utter nervous wreck, and honestly, can you blame her? She is currently orchestrating this massive, twisted plot where she is keeping her legal husband, Drew, paralyzed and locked in. She is running out of the paralytic drugs. She is being framed by Brooklyn for the hit and run, and her entire life is a house of cards just waiting for a strong breeze. The lighting in the house was so dark and moody, completely reflecting her mental state. You could just feel the anxiety radiating off the screen. And then, bam, Jen Sidwell breaks in. He doesn't just knock. He doesn't just walk in. He invades her safe space like the absolute menace he is. Sidwell cornering Willow in her own living room was genuinely terrifying to watch. He is furious, he is desperate, and he is threatening her over those paralytic doses for Drew. Because remember, Sidwell was the one supplying them, and now that he's on the run and everything is falling apart, he wants leverage. He was getting right in her face, spitting venom, and you could see the sheer terror in Willow's eyes. She is in so far over her head. She thought she could play this dark, villainous game, but standing face to face with a real monster like Sidwell, she was crumbling. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Because just when you think Sidwell is going to do something unspeakable to Willow, the door swings open and in walks our knight in shining armor. Or so we thought. Cassius shows up, wearing that face, that beautiful, heroic face of Nathan West. Am I the only one who literally gasped out loud when he walked in? For a split second, my brain short-circuited and I was like, yes, a cop is here. Nathan is going to save the day. Because for years, that face meant safety. I've been watching since 2015, and Nathan West was the gold standard of good guys in Port Charles. When you saw him, you knew the bad guy was going down, and the innocent person was going to be protected. Willow clearly thought the exact same thing. You could literally see the relief wash over her entire body. Her shoulders dropped. She let out this breath, and she looked at him like he was her savior. She expected him to pull out his badge, read Sidwell his Miranda rights, slap some handcuffs on him, and drag his criminal self down to the PCPD like a real cop would. That is what Nathan West would do. That is what a hero would do. So instead, Cassius just pulls out his gun and shoots him. I mean, what? He didn't blink. He didn't hesitate. He didn't offer a warning. He just raised his weapon and executed Jen Sidwell right there in Willow's living room. Point blank. Boom. Dead. I screamed at my television. I am not kidding. I woke up my dog. I probably woke up my neighbors. The sheer brutality of that moment. The way Sidwell's body just dropped to the floor like a sack of bricks, and the deafening silence that followed the gunshot. It was cinematic perfection, but it was also so incredibly disturbing. Because in that one fraction of a second, the illusion was completely shattered. That wasn't Nathan West standing there. That was Cassius Faison. That was the son of Caesar Faison. acting as a cold-blooded assassin for Ross Cullum. Cullum gave the fatal orders to eliminate Sidwell, and Cassius carried them out like a soulless robot. He didn't even flinch at the blood or the fact that he just committed murder in front of a civilian. The absolute ice in his veins. It was chilling. It was horrifying. And it was brilliant television. And can we talk about Willow's reaction? The actress deserves an Emmy for that scene alone. The transition from absolute relief to sheer, paralyzing horror. She was covered in the metaphorical and maybe literal splatter of this execution. She is standing there, trembling, looking at this man who wears the face of a hero, realizing she is trapped in a room with a psychopathic killer. She realized in that exact moment that the man standing before her was not the Nathan West she knew. It was a monster wearing a very familiar mask. But it gets worse, because Cassius doesn't just shoot Sidwell and leave. Oh no, he turns that icy, dead-eyed glare onto Willow. And he doesn't apologize. He doesn't tell her she's safe. He threatens her. He looks her dead in the eye and tells her that she is going to keep her mouth shut about this little murder, or else. And the or else is the kicker, because Cassius knows. He knows everything. He warns her that if she breathes a word of this to the PCPD, to Dante, to anyone, he will expose her darkest secret. He will tell the world that she is the one who has been drugging her legal husband, Drew Kane, keeping him paralyzed and locked away. I am sorry, but the psychological warfare happening in this scene is just top tier. Cassius essentially just handed Willow a shovel and told her to keep digging her own grave. He walked out of that house, cool as a cucumber, leaving Willow completely alone with a bleeding corpse on her expensive rug. Let's just pause and think about Willow's psyche right now. I know some people are loving this dark era for her, but personally, I am just fascinated by how far she has fallen. Remember when she was just a sweet, innocent school teacher? Remember when her biggest problem was dealing with PTA meetings? Now she is a woman who shoots people, drugs her legal husband, and is an accessory to a mob-style execution. She is legally married to Drew, and she is treating him like a hostage. The guilt, the trauma, the sheer panic she must be feeling right now is unfathomable. She is trapped. If she calls the cops about Sidwell, Cassius ruins her life and sends her to prison for what she's doing to Drew. If she hides the body, she is officially a murderer's accomplice. And let's talk about Drew for a second. Her legal husband is lying in a bed somewhere, slowly fighting off the paralytic drugs because the supply is compromised. Felicia already told Willow that GH arranged for Drew to start communicating. The clock is ticking so loudly it's deafening. Willow is terrified of Drew waking up and exposing her. And now she has Cassius holding that exact threat over her head. The paranoia is going to eat her alive. Every time she closes her eyes, she is going to see Sidwell getting his brains blown out. And every time she opens them, she's going to see Drew's angry eyes staring back at her. I mean, compare this to past storylines. Remember when they tried to make insert random character here a dark, edgy villain, and it just fell completely flat because the stakes weren't high enough? Yeah, didn't work then either. But this works because the stakes are life, death, and absolute ruin. The writers have backed Willow into a corner where there are zero good options. And Cassius. Man, I have opinions on Cassius. I hate him for ruining Nathan's memory, but I also kind of love how unhinged he is. Like, you really see the Caesar Phazon DNA shining through. Phazon used to pull this kind of terrifying, manipulative garbage all the time. Cassius is a true Casadini, Phazon-level threat now. He is completely under Ross Cullum's thumb, acting as his personal hitman. Cullum wanted Sidwell gone because Sidwell was a loose end, a liability to the Cold Fusion Project, and Cassius just took out the trash. But what is Cassius's endgame here? He told Liesel he wants to disappear after the project is done. But you can't just walk away from executing a major player like Sidwell. The WSB, the PCPD, Sonny Corinthos everyone is going to be looking for Sidwell. And Willow is the weakest link. Cassius has to know that Willow is a fragile, spiraling mess. She is not a hardened criminal. She is going to crack. And when she cracks, Cassius is going to have to silence her too. Am I the only one terrified for Willow's actual life right now? Let yourself go off on tangents. My brain is telling me. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, back to the point. The body. What is she going to do with the body? Is she going to drag it into the garden? Is she going to call Michael? No, she can't call Michael. They are divorced and he's scheming against her anyway. Is she going to call Chase? She can't call Chase. He's a cop and his career is already on the line because of her fake leg stunt. She has literally alienated everyone who could possibly help her hide a body. She is on an island of her own making. I am predicting right now that she is going to try to clean it up herself, and she is going to do a terrible job. Someone is going to find blood. Maybe Brooklyn will snoop her out trying to find more evidence to frame Willow for the hit and run, and instead, she stumbles upon a literal murder scene. Imagine Brooklyn's face. I am here for that level of messy drama. But honestly, the tragedy of it all is just sitting heavy with me. The death of Jen Sidwell is huge. He's been this massive, looming threat, battling Sonny, harassing people, and to have him taken out so abruptly, not in a grand mob shootout, but in a quiet, clinical execution in a suburban living room? It's brilliant writing. It subverts all our expectations. And I know there are fans out there on the forums right now complaining that Sidwell deserved a bigger send-off, or that Cassius is too irredeemable now. I see you. I hear you. But I respectfully disagree. This show needed a jolt of real, unpredictable danger. We needed to be reminded that the people working for Cullum are not playing games. They are playing for keeps. I am just so emotionally invested in this. I've been watching this show through the highest highs and the lowest lows, and this episode just reignited my absolute obsession. The acting, the pacing, the shock value, it was all a 10 out of 10. I am dreading what this means for Willow's soul, but I am so incredibly hyped to see how she tries to squirm her way out of this impossible situation. Will she submit to Cassius? Will she finally break and confess everything about Drew? I gotta know what you guys think. Drop your theories, vent your frustrations, let's talk about it. Because I am going to be thinking about that gunshot and Willow's horrified face for the rest of the week. GH is back on top, baby, and I am strapped in for this wild ride.